Good evening. I will go ahead and call the meeting to order. Okay, let's go ahead and move to 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. Armed Forces Day was Sunday, May the 19th, in honor of those that are or have served in any of the branch of the military. I would like to ask our very own board member, Mike Gallo, who served in the Air Force, to lead us in the pledge.
Place your right hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I heard those students. That was great. Well, next time we'll have to have you come up and do the pledge for us as well. Great job. We're going to go ahead and go to 1.3, adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes?
Yes, Madam Vice President, I do have a change to read into item 10.8, page 16. We'd like to add Fund 01, so it will read Funds 01, 21, 35, and 40. Those are all the changes.
Move to approve.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. 1.4, inspirational message by Dr. Margaret Hill.
Thank you, Madam President. The reflections I'm doing today, fellow board member Danny Tillman, with discussions have led me to believe this was a good day for these reflections, and they were written by Andy Rooney. I've learned that just one person saying to me, "You made my day," makes my day. I've learned that being kind is more important than being right. I've learned that no matter how serious your life requires you to be, everyone needs a friend to act goofy with. I've learned that under everyone's hard shell is someone who wants to be appreciated and loved. I've learned that to ignore the facts does not change the facts. I've learned that the easiest way for me to grow as a person is to surround myself with people smarter than I am. I've learned that everyone you meet deserves to be greeted with a smile. I've learned that life is tough, but I'm tougher. I've learned that opportunities are never lost. Someone will take the ones you miss. I've learned that when you harbor bitterness, happiness will dock elsewhere. I've learned that one should keep his words both soft and tender, because tomorrow he or she may have to eat them. And the last one, I've learned that a smile is an inexpensive way to improve your looks. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And with that, Dr. Hill, thank you for bringing that and providing those wonderful words of inspiration.
And I'm glad I was your inspiration for your inspiration.
That's right. That's right. I also wanted to just briefly bring up Graciela Rivera and her mom, if they can come up really quickly. Oh, you want to come up, and then we can have a picture. I did this with the intention of, and it's going to be really brief, of recognizing one of our teachers, a retiring teacher. So if you can come and speak briefly, and we should have the picture. We have individuals in the district that are selfless, and so this is just an opportunity to try to bring light to those teachers that are of value to us. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you, Board President, board members. Thank you for your time. My name is, excuse me. My name is Graciela Torres. I came to talk to you about my namesake, who is my mother. She is retiring from San Bernardino City Unified School District after serving humbly for a lot of years. Actually, if I can be honest, it was very difficult to get my mom here, and it was very difficult to even be able to tell you about her accomplishments. My mom was not the type to show up and say, hey, guess what? I got Teacher of the Month award, or I got the principal's pin, or whatever it is, right? She would come home and say, you know that little boy that just migrated here 2 months ago? Well, he knows all his alphabet in English. We worked every day together, and now he's reading 100 words per minute. She would talk about the little kids who were having hardships, and she would tell us how beautiful it was to see them accomplish and be the top student at the end of kindergarten or in the first grade. So I wanted to tell you just a little bit about my mom and the reason why I felt like, if nothing else, she should be recognized for the brief time that I am allotted today. So Graciela Rivera graduated from Durango, Mexico, with her bachelor's, with her undergraduate degree, and earned an engineering degree and 2 master's degrees, one in business administration and public administration. She accomplished this with 2 sons, married and 2 sons. She was invited to teach at her alma mater, which was a big deal for a woman in the late 70s. She went on to teach at a different university in Mexico, where she taught veterinary science and law. She also taught engineering, starting a business, and evaluating business plans. She did that for about 3 or 4 years, while at the same time having myself, my younger sister, and my younger brother. My mom, I can tell you, is a superwoman. In 1990, when my youngest brother was only a few months old, she and my father made the difficult decision to bring us to the United States. She was able to transfer most of her schooling, but still needed some classes to earn her teaching credential. She has a teaching credential in multiple subjects, teaching K through 12, and single subject Spanish, as well as a master's degree in education from Chapman University, and she earned that all after a year from arriving here. Like I said, she did this raising 5 children, a superwoman. Her first official teaching job in the United States was at Rialto High School, teaching Spanish. And if you can imagine, 1990s Rialto High School was a tough place to start teaching. When she did it with all the wit in the world, a funny story I would love to share is she showed up on day 1, and she was already warned about some of the students. And she, ready and prepared to teach on day 1, she stood up, and the students turned off the lights. And quickly, she turned on a headlamp that she had brought with her. Well, the kids caught on, and the next time, they had unplugged that lamp and turned off the lights. Well, if you wouldn't imagine, my mom had a flashlight in her pocket, ready for them. Graciela then moved on to teach at Longfellow Elementary School in Riverside for 2 years. During that time, she earned an administrative credential, thinking that she might be able to help in that aspect or serve in that aspect. After realizing what that meant for her, she realized she would rather teach 20 kindergartners than deal with 20 teachers. So she went from Longfellow and started teaching at Burbank Elementary School. She taught at Burbank Elementary School for over 15 years. That is where I grew up. Whenever my mom needed help, I was stapling boards. My siblings and I were cleaning the classrooms a week ahead and getting everything ready from her students, where she taught K and K-1 combinations. After Burbank became a charter school, that is when she came to Monterey Elementary School in 2011, where she is now finishing her distinguished career. She obtained her certification in dual language immersion. Everyone in the classroom knows that you don't go into teaching to have a elaborate, rich career, right? She did it for like the rest of us because she wanted to help the smallest among us. I'm proud to say that she is my mom, but she is the mom of who knows how many San Bernardino City Unified School District attendees. And thank you so much for your time, but I want to say thank you for your example. Because of that, we have all grown to be I have 2 older siblings. I have 2 older siblings, one who has who is a physicist, another one who's a veterinarian, a younger sister who is a district attorney, and a younger brother who is an engineer, and I myself a chemist. And it was all that because we understood the importance of education. Had it not been her education that she earned in Durango, she would not be where she was today. And I'm glad that is something that we're able to teach our children. If you can see the picture up ahead, that's my mom with her 19th grandchild. Family is important to us, but you can see, even though she has a big family, she still gave her heart to San Bernardino Unified School District. And again, thank you for your time, and congratulations, Mom.
Thank you. And she's here. She is here. So let's just go ahead. Thank you so much for the service.
I don't know if she'll stand. Sorry, Mom.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, of course.
I want to shake her hand.
That's really quick. All right. Sometimes we need a little moment like that. So I want to thank everyone for being patient, but this was a really good inspirational story following Dr. Hills. So we're going to go ahead and move to 2.0 special presentation. And we're going to have additional awards coming up. We're going to have special recognition for the senior high school athletes and coaches, as well as the 35th annual Baker to Vegas relay race. So thank you so much. If all the board members can come up so we can go ahead and help present the awards as well.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're glad that you've joined us as we honor some outstanding high school athletes, coaches, and a special group of men and women who participated in the Baker to Vegas relay race back in March. We will begin by honoring the outstanding athletes, one young man and one young woman from each comprehensive high school. Then we will honor the dedicated coaches who provided guidance and expertise to help our gifted athletes reach their full potential. When I call your name, please make your way up to the front to greet our Board of Education, beginning with board member Mr. Danny Tillman, as well as being recognized by all of the other board members and Superintendent Dr. Marsden. You will be joined by your high school principal, and if your family is here, we invite them to also come forward. And with the Director of Positive Youth Development, Ms. Marlene Bikendova, please join us. Let's give her a round of applause. Marlene oversees the district's high school athletic program, and she is presenting each athlete with a special trophy, a certificate, and a patch for their Letterman's jacket. From Arroyo Valley High School, would Miss Tiana Jenkins please come forward with your family? Tiana excelled in softball and is a 4-year letterman. Also being honored from Arroyo Valley High School is Mr. Khalik Douglas, who's unable to be here this evening. He is also a multi-talented young man. Not only did he make a name for himself in basketball and track, he also interned as a sports photographer for the communications department. Let's hear it for Tiana and Khalik. The Hawks Coach of the Year is Mr. Brandon Mason. He coaches boys basketball and previously won the prestigious Making Hope Happen Award. Congratulations, Coach Mason. And now, representing Cajon High School is Ms. Alondra Smith. This young lady was a standout athlete in basketball and track. She played varsity basketball for 3 years and was team captain twice. Let's give Alondra another round of applause. You may have heard about our next outstanding athlete, Mr. Jayden Daniels. Unfortunately, he could not join us today because he is already training with the Arizona State University football team. Jayden is a remarkable athlete known as a dual threat quarterback. And just last night, Jayden received the prestigious Ken Hubbs Award, marking the second consecutive year that a Cajon High athlete has received this local honor. Let's give Alondra and Jayden a round of applause. The Coach of the Year from Cajon High School is girls basketball coach, Mr. Leon Washington. He took over as head coach at Cajon following the retirement of longtime coach Mark Lehman. Let's give Coach Washington another big round of applause. Now it is time for Indian Springs High to shine. Our next honoree is Miss Mariana Sanchez. Will Mariana and her parents please come forward? She was selected the Coyotes Outstanding Athlete for her stellar performance on the girls' varsity soccer team. Mariana was team captain for the 2018 and 2019 seasons and led her team to 2 Southern Section playoff appearances. Let's give Mariana another round of applause. Also from Indian Springs is Mr. Luis Hernandez Amaya. He has distinguished himself as goalkeeper for the Indian Springs soccer team. He also played football and on the volleyball court. Luis is the goalkeeper for Indian Springs and was ranked 5th in California and 24th in the nation for goalkeeping. Let's give him a big round of applause. And from Indian Springs High School, we will honor their Coach of the Year, Mr. Philip Ugaldi. Coach Ugaldi, please come forward. He coaches boys and girls tennis, and every day he makes hope happen for the Indian Springs athletes. Thank you, Coach Ugaldi. And now we will honor the outstanding athletes from Pacific High School. First up is Ms. Morgan Diaz. Morgan Diaz was dominant in athletics and academics. She is Pacific's valedictorian. Morgan played 3 years on the boys' tennis team because Pacific didn't have a girls' team until just this year. During her final season, Morgan swept the Mountain Valley League with a record of 40 wins and 0 losses. Now, just as impressive is Pacific's Angel Espinoza. Angel is a 4-year varsity letterman in water polo, swimming, and wrestling. In his junior and senior years, Angel was the league champion in wrestling. And this year, he earned league MVP honors in water polo. Audience, please put your hands together again for Morgan and Angel. And of course, we're going to recognize Pacific High School's Coach of the Year, which is Mr. Carlos Chaidez. Coach Chaidez is the coach for both the boys and girls varsity soccer teams. Coach Chaidez, thanks for all that you do for the Pacific Pirates. Let's give them another round of applause. And now, San Bernardino High is represented by Ms. Sofia Dominguez Gallegos. She distinguishes herself in varsity cross country and track and field. Sophia is Cardinal City's record holder in the 3200 and has been the Mountain Valley League champion in the 1600 and the 3200. And she will be running for Cal Poly Pomona this fall. Let's hope they don't catch her. Also from San Bernardino High is Mr. Arturo Magana. Arturo is a 4-year letterman in football and soccer. He was the Mountain Valley League Special Teams Player of the Year in football and the league's defensive MVP in soccer. Please give another round of applause to Sophia and Arturo. Next up is Mr. Michael Tucker from San Bernardino High. Michael Tucker is San Bernardino High's Coach of the Year. He is the head track and field coach and serves as assistant coach of the boys water polo team. Let's congratulate Coach Tucker and everyone from San Bernardino High School. Our final school is San Gorgonio High School, where Ms. Ashley Alvarado is being honored. Let's give her and her family a big round of applause. Ashley was a 4-year varsity athlete in water polo and swimming. With a 4.81 GPA, she is San G's salutatorian. She has also been an all San Andreas League selection twice and also league MVP in water polo. And last night, Ashley was honored with the first ever Keith Hubbs Award, which recognizes a talented athlete of high character. Let's give Ashley another round of applause. Also representing San G is Mr. Adam Martinez. Adam was a member of the varsity football and wrestling teams for 3 years and was on the varsity track team for 4 years. In football, he was all CIF this year, part of that championship season, and was the San Andreas League heavyweight wrestling champion for the last 2 years. Let's give the San G athletes another round of applause. And last but not least is San Gorgonio High School Coach of the Year, Mr. Rich McClure. Coach McClure took the varsity football team all the way to the CIF State Championship near Sacramento. He is also San G's head football coach for track and field and was selected the 2018 CIF Southern Division IX Coach of the Year for this football team's historic season. Let's hear it for Coach McClure. Audience, all the young men and women named Outstanding Athletes and Coaches of the Year deserve another SBCUSD round of applause. Before we move to our next recognition, I would like to acknowledge the important role that our Board of Education has played in providing high-quality athletic facilities and equipment for our students. Audience, let's give our board members a round of applause for their support of our students' athletic pursuits. Our third and final group we are honoring today is a very dedicated group of district police officers and support personnel, along with a few former officers who have returned for this epic experience. In March, the district's Baker to Vegas relay team ran 120 miles as part of the world's most prestigious and unique law enforcement foot race. Ladies and gentlemen, they ran from Baker, California to Las Vegas, Nevada for fun. We will begin by calling forward the team co-captains, Sergeant John Gutierrez and Officer Raymond Cervantes. Please come forward. They will be joined by District Police Chief Joe Polino. Next up are the runners who brave cold and heat to proudly represent San Bernardino City Unified School District's Police Department. And we cannot forget the people who also supported them with cheers, food, and water. So please come forward when I call your name in alphabetical order. Robin Alberton, District Police Secretary 3. Fred Barrier, District Police Clerk. Chief Mark Clark from Valverde Unified School District Police. Stephen Donahue, District Police Assistant Chief. Jonathan Falcone, District Police Officer. Brian Ford, District Police Cadet. Melody Lopez, District Police Cadet. Mike Medina, Affirmative Action Officer. Vanessa Meses, Campus Security Officer. Matthew Montero, District Police Officer. Alex Raya, District Police Sergeant. Eduardo Sanchez, District Police Officer. Jason Sanchez, Valverde Unified. Daryl Scott, Director of Safety and Security for Moreno Valley USD. Nestor Sosa, San Bernardino School Police Officer. Anthony Suarez, Campus Security Officer. Charles Telly, District Police Officer. Eric Vatier, Safety Emergency Manager. Angel Villalobos, Campus Security Officer. Harold Volkemer, Deputy Superintendent. Hunter Washburn, Campus Security Officer. Colleen Williams, District Coordinator. Perry Williams, Campus Security Officer. And Michael Zavala, Campus Security Officer. Not all of those whose names I called today were able to be with us. After all, they are protecting the streets and the schools in San Bernardino City Unified. But audience, please put your hands together one more time for these deserving officers and their support team. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our special recognitions for tonight. Thank you for joining us and for your attention. Let's give them another round of applause.
Well, congratulations to everyone. I'm gonna, maybe with Dr. Flores' permission, she's like, I don't even like driving there from Baker to Las Vegas, and let alone for you to run it and jog it or walk it, however you did it, but you made it. So congratulations to everyone, all the students. We definitely want to recognize those students who are doing great with academically, but also doing great in sports. So definitely something to recognize. We're going to go ahead and go to 3.0, closed session. Closed session public comments. Are there any? Dr. Marsden?
No, Madam President, no closed session comments.
Okay, so then we will now adjourn to closed session and return around 6:15, 6:20. Reconvene to open session and move to 5.1 Savant Preparatory Academy, since they are here, and that way we can hear from them. Savant Preparatory Academy of Business Charter Material Revision. Dr. Marsden.
Madam President, if we could, let's report out first our
Oh, I'm
actions from
sorry.
closed session, and then we'll go ahead and go to that next.
All right, great,
item.
thank you. So be resolved that the Board of Education approves the appointment of the following employee: Pedraza Jr. Raul, Adult School Vice Principal, Inland Career Education Center, effective date, work year, and salary to be determined, funding $130. Let me go ahead and just do both names. And then Alexander III Gregory, High School Vice Principal, Arroyo Valley High School, effective date, work year, and salary to be determined, funding $035.
So, second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. Congratulations to both of you. Now, the non-reelection probationary 2, be it resolved that the Board of Education approves rescinding the board action on March 5th, 2019, to not renew employment the following certificated employees for the 2019-2020 school year pursuant to Education Code 44929.21, and this is for HR Cert 181914, and then HR Cert 181915.
So moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. Now we move to 5.1. Dr. Marsden?
Very good. Thank you, Madam President. For this piece, it's a material revision. We'll have Dr. Mitchell just brief you on this.
Board, this is simple. They're changing their language to put priority on enrolling district students as opposed to the children of staff. And so that constitutes a material revision, and so we required them to come back to the board with that. So they're changing their language actually to benefit the district to take more of our kids.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. And Ms. Cunningham, are there any public comments on this public hearing? Okay, thank you. No public comments, Madam President. So with that, we can close the public hearing if you like.
We will now close public hearing is now closed. All right, 6.1, the governors may revise. Oh, no, let's go ahead and do public comments, the general public comments. Hold on one second. When recognized, please step to the podium, give your name, and limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. For public comments by 6 or more individuals on any one topic, the time limit is 30 minutes. Please monitor your time, and just so you know, the clock is right behind us, and you'll be able to see your time, 5 minutes, go down. Okay, so are there any comment cards? Okay, we do have several. We have a few. We do have a few.
The board welcomes Andrea Schindler and the Urbita Earth Savers. Good evening and welcome. All right. And so Urbita Earth Savers would like to present their proposal project to the board, which won California State School of the Year. So we're excited to hear about that.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Andrea Schindler, and I'm a teacher at Urbita Elementary School, and this is our after-school environmental club. This is our upper grade Earth Savers. They've worked really hard this year and learned a lot about sustainability and non-renewable resources and renewable resources. And because of their efforts and their project that was turned in, they actually are receiving an award this summer for California State School of the Year. 2 of the students that you see up here will be going to Washington, D.C. this summer to get this award on behalf of our school.
Nice. Great job. Fantastic. Who are the 2 lucky ones?
Raise your hand.
Nice. Fantastic. Wonderful.
And so they wanted to be here tonight to present their proposal to you. We have not done a good job of being green by creating printouts for you. However, we were unable to be a part of the regular agenda, and they worked really hard on this PowerPoint presentation and really wanted to be able to show it to you guys. So if it's okay, we're going to pass out their PowerPoint presentation, and they will just let you know when to turn to the next slide. And just so that you know, they are double-sided. We did try to save a little bit of the paper. So if we could pass these out.
Absolutely.
Thank you, and I'll go ahead and I'll turn it over to the experts in the room.
Good evening, cabinet members and members of the board. We are the Urbita Earth Savers. My name is Brandon.
I'm Liliana. I'm Adalid. I'm Adrian. I am Alfonso. I'm Darlene. I'm Samantha. And I am Anissa.
And we are here to present to you a proposal for you to consider, which will make Urbita Elementary School a better place for future students.
Turn to the next slide, please. This year, our after-school club learned all about non-renewable and renewable resources. We were shocked to find out that the majority of energy in the United States comes from non-renewable resources. Despite the many harmful effects in efforts on the environment, this includes the fact that using non-renewable resources causes pollution in the air, which in turn causes students to have indoor recess on hot days when there is poor air quality. Poor air quality also can cause health issues and school absences. On the other hand, renewable and clean energy resources can solve the problem that using non-renewable resources has created.
Turn to the next slide, please. As you can see, very little local energy is coming from clean, renewable resources. It is time to make a big change. Turn to the next slide, please. We want to take Urbita to the 21st century by reducing our dependence on non-renewable resources. We want cleaner energy and a healthy learning environment now.
All right.
Turn to the next slide, please. Since we live in sunny Southern California where there's an abundance of sunshine, we are proposing that we should switch to solar energy. As you can see, solar energy has many benefits.
Turn to the next slide, please. The Urbita Earth Savers has spent time researching different possible solar solutions. We have come to the conclusion that solar panels over a playground would be the best solution because it provides shade, which will benefit students by not causing heat extraction or sunstroke, which means less absences.
Nice job.
They would also They would also protect our play structures from sun damage, greatly extending the life of our playground equipment. In other words, we would be adding money to a school budget with less absences, as well as saving money from not having to replace our playground equipment.
Turn to the next slide, please. Let's not forget one other very important benefit. Using solar energy will help save money on our overall cost of electricity. With all of that said, how could you not agree? We hope that you will seriously take into consideration everything we have said here tonight. It is our hope that you will approve our proposal to install solar panels over the playgrounds at Urbita Elementary School. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Wow, fantastic.
All right, great. Thank
Wonderful
you.
job.
Great presentation.
And students, I can assure you that this board and cabinet will strongly consider your recommendations. So thank you so much for your time and making this presentation to us.
And don't
tonight.
go away. We have board members who have some comments. Mr. Tillman.
Just so you know, Stu, thanks for coming out. You gave us some good information. We have some solar projects in the district we've created, already completed, and we want to do more. So this lady right here, she's the boss over the people that do it. That's Miss Janie Christakis. So we're trying to convince her to do more solar projects. And one item you put on here, I don't know if she's considered, but you said by doing structure over the playground equipment, it'll make it last longer, right? So Ms. Christakis, maybe you can consider that when you do your calculations for return on investment. That might encourage you to do more of these projects. Do you have a solar project at Urbita right now? So maybe we should look at Urbita, maybe it being one of the sites that we do. What would we do at Urbita? A covering for your the playground, or you want a covering for the where you eat? What do you want?
Both.
You can speak one at a time.
We would like for the solar panels to cover over the playground.
The playground. But now, what about the ball hitting it? The ball won't hit the cover? The playground, when you're on the playground?
No, the equipment, the slides. And
Oh, so you're not talking about the area where you're playing baseball or kickball? Okay. You're talking about where they have the monkey bars?
Yeah,
and-
the slides and the monkey bars.
Got you. So to keep the equipment cool, too.
Yeah.
That's a good idea, Ms. Christakis. Thank you very much.
Janie, go ahead. Ms.
I just
Christakis.
thank you so much for your
Christakis.
presentation, and we will include in our projections the savings to the playground equipment. That is brilliant. I wanted you to know that we have an independent consultant that specializes in solar, and they're evaluating all of our school sites. So I have Mr. Tom Pace in the back. I'm going to give him a copy of this presentation, and he will work with the consultant on your request. And we'll get back to you as well.
Ms. Medina.
Yes, Dr. Flores.
Kids, I want you to know that back in January, I'm Dr. Flores, and myself and Mr. Tillman proposed that we do a phase 1 and phase 2 analysis of putting solar panels on canopies where you guys eat lunch. But we never thought about the playgrounds. So that's a really great idea. And so we're already thinking that, right? And so just as Mr. Tillman said, and Ms. Christakis and Dr. Marston said, that this board is already, thinking just like you guys are, but we should, you're probably saying, well, we need to act faster, right? Because we need it like yesterday, correct? Right? But I think it's really great, the research that you did. Your presentation was stellar, absolutely stellar. Are you 4th and 5th graders?
It's 4th through 6th.
4th through 6th. So we were very, well, I think I'm impressed, all of us are impressed with your research and your advocacy, and we are, I'm sure, going to look into it. Correct, Dr. Marsden?
You've heard it from all of us.
Yes, yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful
you.
job. You're going to do great in Washington, D.C.
You can go back home and see this on TV or on
And
YouTube.
if you're a picture of our future, which I know you are, we're all very encouraged. So good job. The board welcomes Mia Cooper and Miss Devaney Robertson on the topic of special ed department. Thank you. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
My name is Ms. Cooper, and I'm coming in front of you today to talk about the special ed department. I just wanted you to know how they're living up to the San Bernardino City Unified School District mission statement. Within the last few months, I've seen a lot of growth, positive changes within the department under the new leadership. I've seen caring and passion. And even though the department has a lot of work to do, they're moving in the right direction, and I'm glad, no, I'm proud as a parent to say the special ed department has wonderful leadership, and they're very knowledgeable and caring, so much for the students, the parents, the staff, and I couldn't ask for a better team to work with, and I wanted you guys to know that today.
Oh,
That's
wow.
great. Wow, nice.
Fantastic.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your comment.
Good evening, and I'm Devonna Robertson, and I just came to stand in support and solidarity with Mia Cooper. I've had very little experience so far with the new special ed department, but I'm also impressed, and I think it's important that we don't always show up to complain, but we also show up to celebrate and share our appreciation, especially to Dr. Lundy, and I look forward to working with her and Dr. Menarez, especially around the African American Achievement Plan. So again, we just wanted to thank the special ed department and their leadership.
Very
Great,
good.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you for making the time to bring a compliment to the board and team. That's much appreciated. Board, those are all our public comments for this evening.
All right, great. Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, let's go ahead and go to, let's see here, to the administrative report, 6.0 administrative report, the governor's May's revised budget and local control accountability plan. Dr. Marsden?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. This is a time where Ms. Christakos has had an opportunity with her team to visit the governor's May revise, and you will also hear an update on our LCAP progress, our local control accountability plan from Dr. Mitchell. So with that, Ms. Christakos, we'll have you present your brief summary.
Thank you, Dr. Marsden. This evening, we'll take a look at just some of the highlights of the governor's May revise. As you know, it was released about a week and a half ago. We want to take some time to celebrate the board investments that you've made since we've entered into LCFF and came out of the recession, and all the great investments the board has made. Dr. Mitchell will spend a lot of time on the budget priorities as you go through the LCAP items. We have a recommendation for allocation of some one-time ongoing expenditures to be built into the budget, and then Dr. Mitchell will cover the LCAP. So the May revise is the last statutory step in the state budget process before the legislature adopts the state spending plan by June 15th, and then it's given to the governor. So there's a lot of negotiations going on right now at the state level. Some of the items the legislature agrees with, Governor Newsom, and then they have some of their own plans. So we'll see how that all pans out when we get closer to the end of June. With the strong April tax revenues, Governor Newsom's May revision looks similar to January, with additional investments into some of his priority programs. The California state budget is healthy. It forecasts a slower economic growth as we move forward. The governor remains cautiously optimistic. Excuse me. So a couple things that you saw, I think the last time we spoke, the COLA is down slightly from January. He's increased his investment or proposal to invest in special education funding. now ongoing 696 million statewide. I want to take a minute to describe what he's proposing, and just know that there are other legislators that have different proposals. So what he's proposing is if a district has an unduplicated count of 55% or higher, and that would be us, and their enrollment as a percentage of total district enrollment is higher than the state average that we serve students with disabilities, higher than the state average. The state average is 10.93, and we're about 12.8 to 13, about 13%, that they will provide, this is how we're reading the formula, $14,000 per student for the percentage that's above that statewide average if the students qualify as low-income English learner or foster
You
youth.
said 14,000. Do you mean 1,400? 14,000?
Yeah.
Additional dollars?
For just the students above the statewide average over the
For
3-year
12%.
period.
So it'd be 2% for us?
About 2% of the students with disabilities. That's how we're reading the language. Ms. King and I sat there and we were trying to figure all that out. And if you figure 90% of that, so it could be several $1 million or more.
How many students is that?
We think about 1,800 to 2,000. Wow. And then and we don't know if it's just going to be specific disabilities, so we just don't have enough information. But know that the legislature also want to get all of the SELPAs to the statewide average. We are a low-funded SELPA. We receive just a little bit below $500 per student, and they want to get districts that are in that low-funded up to the statewide average. So that would benefit more districts, but would be fewer dollars per district. Either way, we're going to receive some dollars, and I'll show you the language. I'll share the language with the board on the $14,000.
And are there going to be any, Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Tillman?
are there going to be any restrictions? Like, are they going to talk about not being able to supplant general fund money you're spending already?
It actually said the trailer bill language is permissive and does not restrict the use of funds to students with disabilities. But he doesn't have agreement on his proposal.
I got you.
So some want it for early education, which would also benefit us. For preschool, receiving about $4,000 per student. So all items that are out there would benefit our district. Obviously, this one is not as popular because it eliminates about 75% of the districts.
Right.
And so we'll know a lot more in the upcoming weeks, and I'll keep you posted on that.
And how much money do we spend out of general fund towards special ed?
About 48 million.
Thank you.
Well, Rachel, Dr. Monars.
There's a BC on our, right next
It's
to
about
I
48.
had asked, Danny,
Oh.
I had asked to see the amount of money that we spend out of the general fund for special ed. And so thank you, Dr. Monarez, for doing that so that we can calculate. If in fact we do get $14,000 per special ed student, 2,000 times 14,000 is 28,000.
28 million.
28 million, I'm sorry, it's
So-
28 million.
No?
But because of what Janie just said, there may be, like you said, different legislators want to divvy it up a certain, different ways, because a lot of people are lobbying for different, aspects.
So it would be the average
Right.
of the 3 years that we were over the statewide average.
Right.
And if the student qualifies as low-income foster youth or English learner, that's what the language we got today says. So
So our kids
We'd have to
with
go back
2,000,
it'd probably be about 1,500. It's hard to know right now.
But also, this will be the time for us to use our lobbyists
right,
to make sure that our lobbyists
correct.
are telling the legislators that we support
right. So
the
The
governor.
governor's proposal. yeah.
And Dr. Flores, you probably want to call Assemblywoman.
Yes. In fact, she's called me.
That's what I
Yeah.
figured. So you
Yeah,
got that
right.
relationship. So tell them we
Right.
support this 100%.
Correct.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, thank you. Any other board comments? Please continue.
And so that's good news. The state budget should be adopted. Again, it'll be to the governor by June 15th, and we should have an adopted budget by June 30th. We'll bring our multi-year projections and to the public hearing on June 4th, and then the final budget on June 18th. Some of the other significant non-Prop 98 budget investments that the governor made, and one is just so beneficial, is his funding to decrease the STRS rate. So when we adopted our budget and we looked at the rates that we would be paying next year in 1920, we projected they would be 18.13%. In 11-12, in 12-13, we paid 8.25% for STRS. For every $100 of payroll, we paid 8.25%. So all certificated salaries. In January, the proposal went down to 17.1, and now in the May revise, 16.7%. So that is about 3.1 million less in costs for our district. And he is not using Proposition 98 funds for that, so that's good news. There's also other funding for teacher professional development and administrator recruitment and training of about $148 million. I don't know if this is competitive or how it will roll out. The construction money for moving to full-day kindergarten was lowered just a little bit, about $150 million. And then the governor has put a significant amount of investment and money into what he calls the Parents Agenda and early childhood programs, a master plan for early learning. So his goal is to improve affordability across an array of early childhood programs and services. As we move into the budget, this is Dr. Marsden's Budget 101, just being mindful of our revenues and our expenditures. And of course, we always want to spend this year's dollars on this year's kids, but we can't sustain spending more than what we're receiving. And the board's been very good with setting funds aside for future needs. The following slide, actually, if you in the audience, if you were able to pick up the investing in education, this board has made significant investments since LCFF was implemented, and more funding has come to the district. And I actually wanted to give the board subcommittee, the budget board subcommittee, a chance to make some comments on this. But as you can see from this, the total investments, and it's a mixture of ongoing and one-time, equal about $270 million. And there were significant increases in providing funding to lower class sizes and all sorts of investments, a wide range of investments. So if you have a chance to pick this brochure up, and I didn't know if Dr. Wyatt and Dr. Flores or Mr. Gallo, if you want to make any comments.
So then I can start with Dr. Wyatt and then move along this way.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Janie, for the presentation. No, as you were saying, I think the board has been amazing in regards to the areas that we focused on for investing into our students' futures. And, we talked a little bit about it already, and if you look at the brochure, we added another $20 million to special education, which I think was a great investment by increasing 88 certificated staff, investing money into our PBIS program so we can obviously increase attendance and reduce suspensions, which we all know are positives for our program. Another big one that I really did appreciate is restoring counselors as well, which we've heard from our public at many different community forums that they really want to see more counselors, and I say counselors mean clinicians and therapists, to be included into the budget and future programs. Other conversations we had, though, also was to look at money that's been allocated and earmarked that maybe we can reduce spending on and then reallocate funding. I know I have a couple colleagues up here that have some areas that they're concerned about, like textbook funding, how much we spent there, and if we need to spend that much. So not just spending, but also reducing our expenditures and looking how we can reallocate those funds to something that might be a little bit more important on our list. And then I just wanted to thank Dr. Mitchell as well for the wonderful breakdown and report that we had on the LCAP budget, which is, really broken and itemized it down here to, even, gosh darn, 60 different headings and subheadings beneath that. So, there's a lot of work put into this, and I don't know if people actually realize how much work's put into it, but tremendous amount of detail. So when we go to look at the budget and we ask where the money's been spent, it's pretty easy to find out. So thank you to the team.
Great. Dr. Flores?
Yes, I did everything Dr. Wyatt just said. And in addition, just wanted to highlight our expenditures and instructional program support. It's a really key issue, and Dr. Mitchell is, in charge of all of that. And so, it is for professional development of our teachers. We know that that is key and very important. Also, with family engagement, also our support of that. Dr. Perez, and your leadership in terms of that, I think will go a long, long way in terms of even what the governor has just said, that we want to invest more in families and family engagement. And also in the literacy campaign, statewide literacy campaign, that's going to be upfront in terms of providing access and resources for family literacy and biliteracy. That's coming down the pike. So I think that, as a board, we have done a good job, I think, and also our cabinet, Dr. Marsden, in terms of, implementing the things that we want. We've done a lot. We still have a long, we have ways to go, but I think we're on solid ground in terms of our investments. And so, anyway, I'm very, very proud. And also I want to thank you, Dr. Mitchell, for the LCAP detail. It's a lot. It was a lot. And very, I know I ask you this all the time, where is it? And here it is. So so I appreciate it. And I think all the board appreciates it. Thank you.
And I want to apologize. It's not it's not 60 headings. It's actually 97.
Right,
So,
right.
2 pages.
Right. And I think our parents and our community should be, very proud that their input is included in here, and that we are addressing those needs. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. Hill, did you have any comments on this?
No, I'll wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then Ms. Rogers? No? Anybody else? Dr. Mike Allo?
Yeah, and I just point out the career pathway work that's been done over the past 6 years as well. And you notice they were all focused and targeted on demand and growth industry sectors, and then kind of peeling that back and looking at the demand occupations within those industry sectors, and then creating training and education programs around that and career pathways around those demand sectors. And that's been a major investment, and I know it's really inspired and engaged a lot of our kids all the way from kindergarten through the high school program. And we're going to see that continuity continue to make sure students, if they're in an elementary program that happens to have a specific career pathway, that they can have upward mobility, so to speak, into their middle school years experiences, and ultimately get hands-on training in their high school years as they pursue their career interests. So, and again, Dr. Mitchell and the whole gang did a tremendous amount of work, and I know Janet King, from the budget standpoint, is still pulling her hair out, probably going through all of this stuff, and you really all should be commended, because you see these lists, and there's a lot behind these lists. Almost every one of the items that were listed, and I know that Dr. Mitchell had prepared for the subcommittee and is presenting tonight, I believe, have been run through parent engagement groups, through the site, the various sites and site advisories. And so this has been a culmination of the work of lots and lots of meetings with site leadership and parental engagement and the community as well. So you guys should be commended on this.
Okay, great, thank you. And then Mr. Tillman?
Yes, and thanks for the report thus far. I think it's critical to realize at the top of this document, it says summer hour increased educational investment from 2013 to 2019, because it truly is just some. The district has a $700 million budget. I can just think of one item's not on here, and it's to connect to summer. We have all these summer programs throughout the school district, and I actually work with some folks at my job at the county. Some of the ladies there are work in the clerical staff, and they've told me they don't know what they would do if we didn't have these summer programs for their students. Because for the students that are in the district, we pick up the cost. And, some of the employees, when you're making $14 an hour and all of a sudden the summertime comes, you have to find childcare for your kids. It's a big deal that the district has invested money to make sure that the students can go somewhere that's constructive and continue their learning throughout the summer. So those are some of the items that aren't even listed on here. And then I was going to bring it up in board comments, but it fits in perfect here. I would like to see the staff give us a list of schools and programs that have waiting lists. Because that's the parents telling us what they want. And I think we can use that when we're driving what our priorities are. That's what should drive what we know the need is and what the wants are from our parents. They're telling us that. And if we don't have the discussion, there might be some ways we can eliminate those waiting lists. But we have to have that discussion. And I mean, now is I think the perfect time to have the discussion. If there's a possibility we get some additional funding, that's even better. But when I hear parents tell me that they would try to get into a school and they couldn't, then it's our responsibility to say, what can we do to make sure parents get to go to the school they want? And I don't know if they have a waiting list for like the Sunrise program, Dr. Mitchell. That's another program that parents love. They actually move their kids to different schools where they can find the Sunrise program because it's that beneficial to them. So I'd like to know what the cost is to do a Sunrise program. And I think if we check, we'd find that we increase our enrollment by having programs like Sunrise. So it might be an investment worth making at more of our schools. As Dr. Hill says, what did she say? What is it? Cookies? What kind of cookies?
Cookies instead of spinach.
Cookies instead of broccoli or spinach. And I agree. So, I mean, the Sunrise program is definitely cookies. So it'll be interesting to see if we can do more of that. Thank you very much.
All right, and if you can please continue. And if we can hold any board comments until we move to the LCAP portion.
Thank you, Board. The next slide is just a few items that Ms. King would like to build into the budget. We've given folks an opportunity to carry over the innovation grants. Some of the refresh we've done on classroom furniture, we want to wrap up this summer. The college and career readiness was a one-time funding. We have some personnel attached to that we'd like to budget for right away. And then, so we'd like to include $0.8 million of carryover into the adopted budget for for 1920. And then the rest of the carryover will be known in September. The following slide is just to show the 10-year comparison of general fund revenues to total expenditures. And if you look at that bottom blue, well, light blue, that was the revenue limit. And you see the dark blue, that was the federal. And then we had other state funding. We used to get a lot of categoricals. And then as LCFF came into play, you see that bottom blue, which is now the LCFF, growing as the categoricals got folded into that. And what's important to note is in 2011-12 was the lowest budget of this 10-year period of $460 million. Prop 98 was at its lowest as well at $47.3 billion. In the upcoming year, it's projected the state budget, Prop 98, to be above $80 billion, so it's a $34 billion increase over this time. And again, Prop 98 was designed to protect education, but because of our volatile tax structure, we do fluctuate with the state economics. The next slide you've seen before, it's just our major revenue versus major cost increases. We achieved full funding of LCFF this year, and we moved to projected COLA only, and then you look, some of those costs continue to go up. You do see the purple line where the PERS and STIRS starts to reduce quite a bit in 21-22, and the last year on the chart. If some of the special ed funding comes in, that will lower our contribution to special ed or allow us to invest in some of our early education programs for special ed. And then some major assumptions that are included, will be included in the budget. We're projected to decline about 0.7%, 0.7%, 343 students. Now we are protected by a prior year guarantee, but we have been declining year over year, so we start to see that where we were a year ago for next year. And I just wanted to illustrate the impact of declining enrollment. So if you take the 343 times our attendance rate, it gives you about how much we generate in ADA, about 3.9 million for 323 students. If you have a decreased need of 11 FTE, that would save about $1 million of that decrease. And so you can see year over year, the impact of declining enrollment can really impact a budget. Major cost increases are included in the budget, PERS, STIRS, step and column, everything you saw on the prior slide. And then we'll have that preliminary multi-year projection for you at the next board meeting. Here's a chart with our historical ending fund balances, and we'll spend a lot of time on this, again, at unaudited actuals in September. And you can see on the bottom was the unrestricted percentage of our ending fund balance, and then restricted percentages on top. The district-wide, the statewide average right now is about 16% of unrestricted. And some of the reasons for maintaining an ending fund balance, you know, California has little control over its revenues. It's very volatile depending on the top tax earners and personal income tax. You know, in preparing for the next economic downturn, we are in the longest recovery period. Declining enrollment, it helps you manage declining enrollment. Of course, as we enter into a COLA only, if the state continues to do well, we may see additional funding. But based on our projections now, costs can outpace those revenues, health and welfare costs, and then just the cost of maintaining major assets.
Okay.
And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Mitchell.
But before then, I will ask, we're going to go ahead and ask really quickly. So, Mr. Tillman, if you can start.
Yeah, I just want to say, for the decline in enrollment, the key is to make sure, once you realize the decline in enrollment, that you align the staff with the number of students.
Yes.
And I mean, the other night we had a room full of people who were retiring. So I hope if we realize in this decline in enrollment that we don't fill all those positions. And the way the state used to work, they fund you for the level of the prior year, mm-hmm. which actually could be beneficial if you take the action now to make sure you don't rehire people that you don't have students to pay for, right?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
But go ahead.
Year over year, you know, it does decrease your total revenues quite a bit beyond what the staffing is.
But then the cost, the need for the revenues to reduce, but the expenditures have to be reduced at the same time.
Yes.
And it's doable. I mean,
yes.
And the best way to do it is through attrition. And the
yes.
attrition is, as these people retire, you don't rehire them. So I'm
That's
hoping
right.
you guys are having that discussion, and you're not just rehiring everybody that's leaving and retiring, that some positions are going to be filled.
No, we work very closely with HR and the enrollment committee to align all of that with our projections.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Ms. Rogers, if you could.
Thank you. Janie, could you just kind of give me a scenario again as to why the unrestricted is increasing each time? Is that what this shows?
What slide are you on? I'm sorry.
The last one you just spoke of. Let's see. Ours says 11.
Oh, 11, the historical ending fund balance.
Yeah, so this is historically an overview from 2008 to 18.
2009. So you see those reserves, they started to go down coming out of the recession. You see 14, 15. There's a number of things that happened throughout the year with the budget, whether there were mid-year, salary increases. But it's increasing. We've had additional funding. Again, our budget's never been this large. We had about $54 million in one-time dollars over the last several years. And so sometimes it takes a while for programs to get started. The hiring and attrition of new employees or shifts in employees as they change positions. So we build that into the budget, but there's additional savings in a wide range of areas across the budget. And so the ending fund balance grows with those one-time fallouts of budget.
So with it growing each year, because the 17, 18, we see, what is that, 9 point?
Last year was 9.2%.
Yeah, 9.2%. And each year since 15 to 18, there's just an increase. So I'm just trying to get at the conversation we generally kind of go back and forth and trying to look at where does the checkbook kind of land on the average? And then out of that, where should it be realistically landing, and not in the next 3 years we're in trouble if we start to tap into that funding?
So when we do the multi-year projection, when we bring that to you, it'd be a good idea to look at that. Obviously, it's our projections. And right now we're looking at all the encumbrances, salaries that pays, the training that's happening in June, and you try and project what will happen. And then there's savings in various areas. I know Ms. King was looking at utilities today, and there's a little savings there. We have solar, so she's working through that. And so I think it's healthy where we are, as long as I know our intent is to spend this year's dollars on this year's students. When there is fallout, one-time fallout, if we can maintain this level of balances, not locking it up, but having it available for future need is a fiscally prudent thing to do. I'm not trying to sock away a whole bunch of money out of New Year dollars, but just when you have those one-time savings, and then you look at that 3-year plan and what are some of the things that we still need to focus on, making investments in the most critical educational areas. Dr. Mitchell's going to talk to you about some of that this evening. And then just being mindful that if you're at a minimum reserve that's required by the state, that's a very difficult area.
What's that number?
2%. It's a 2%, yeah.
Okay. All right, that's it for now.
But
Okay.
we haven't been at a 2%.
Okay, and then Dr. Hill, did you have anything? No?
Madam President, I do. Thank you. Just briefly, thank you so much for the presentation. This past weekend, Dr. Flores and I was at the Delegate Assembly. When I left, the information we received from Kevin Gordon and Dennis Myers left me feeling pretty good. And after hearing your presentation tonight, I'm feeling pretty good. So I guess I just need some assurance with the decrease in enrollment, with perhaps other charter schools coming in, et cetera. Are we pretty comfortable and safe with our funds, that we don't have to look at laying anybody off, classified, certificated, or anything? I guess I want the assurance from you that we're okay for the next few years at least.
So the state budget looks good and healthy. We're at full funding now, and we just have to look at those increased costs. Of course, we don't want to have to lay off. We look at things, as Mr. Tillman noted, when you have attrition in areas that you can manage. If you're looking at areas where you may be overstaffed or you've lost, your enrollment's got down, you manage that through attrition. And that's the best way to do it. But we still have to be mindful moving forward as costs of programs go up and we are at full funding. But, you know, our budget's healthy. We just have to be mindful of those increased costs, and we will have to reduce projected reductions in the years out based on our projections. Now, as far as the declining enrollment goes, we've been stabilizing that. If you'll recall from our facility presentation, we also see in the next 10 years possible growth through developments that will help, we project will help offset some of those. When Standards & Poor wrote their report on us, they commented on that as well. And so Facilities does a really nice job looking at all of those developments, how many students could possibly come to our district. We don't count them until it happens, but so we're very mindful to look at the declining enrollment and our projections, but we have been maintaining between 0.5% to 1% decline each year, which is manageable for us.
Thank you. And my last question, I know when we were through EDA, we were getting, I guess, a couple of $1 million a year before Governor Brown took those funds back. Are we getting any money from the city of San Bernardino now?
Did you say RDA? I'm sorry.
The RDA.
Yes. So we have, it's called, we refer to it as RDA. It's Successor Agency Revenues.
Yes.
And so we refer to it as RDA. We're going to be using that to help finance the COPs that the board approved. It will help us with our facility master plan. And we should be receiving these funds in 27 more years. I could get a report for you. They do not expire for many years after we pay off the COPs. And that money we're investing in doing facilities up front.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that report. In your spare time, don't feel the need to rush. Thank you.
So Jenny, I think you know, how much money do we get right now a year in RDA money? About $6 million?
It ranges some, and projections are going up some of it gets offset by LCFF. So the part that doesn't is around $4 to $6 million, yeah. And that will go, most of that will go to make the payments for our master plan.
And Dr. Flores?
Yes, at Delegate Assembly, they also shared with us the lawsuits, CSBA's lawsuits against the state for raiding Prop 98 money, and that they're close to settling, and it looks good because the state's not going to be raiding it, supposedly, and we should be getting our full funding. I also brought up, Kevin Gordon brought up that AB 48, sponsored by O'Donnell for modernization funds for the state, is moving along in the Assembly and will go to the Senate. But they may be amending it to propose a more equitable funding for small, rural, and low income districts. And of course, we would be the ones that also benefit from it. And by equity, they don't mean 50-50. They mean 20-80. We would pay 20, the state would pay 80 if we fall in the formula. So that was very enlightening to us. On page 10, again, I appreciate you putting this in here in terms of attrition, that we would be mindful if our ADA dropped, and we would, handle it through attrition. But also, we have a recovery program, correct? In terms of recovering our ADA on Saturdays. So I don't know how much money that covers. Is that also in our budget?
Yes. So did you want to make any comment on Saturday school?
So currently, we have Saturday school not taking place at all of our school sites. Last year was that kind of pilot year, and we're growing it each and every year so as to add continued value to the budget. But the dollars, actually, Janie can enlighten us on what that looks like as far as how the
Right.
dollars are impacting the budget.
Yeah, it just came to mind that I'd like to know how much money we were recovering in the ADA.
Now, last year, I think we recovered about $500,000. We started late in the year, but raising that attendance rate is so beneficial, the
Right.
education for our students, that they're in school, and the recovery of money. But declining enrollment is a significant impact as time goes on. It just is.
Mhm.
And we're going to do everything in our power to ensure that kids and families know this is the best place for their kids to be.
Right.
But it does have an impact, and over time, as you decline in enrollment and costs go up, it does impact the budget.
And then repeat again so our public knows, if we raise average daily attendance only by 1%, how much money is that?
It's over $5 million.
Over
for our
5
district.
million. So currently we're at 94 or
About
95?
94 point.
About 94.
Yeah.
So with each 1%, meaning that if our kids come to school on a regular basis, then we can increase the money to possibly offset some of the decline that we are incurring. Yeah. So thank you.
Okay, Dr. Wyatt? None? Okay, so before Dr. Mitchell speaks on the second part of it, I would like to take a moment of pause and to move to 7.0 student board members' comments, so that way you can speak before it gets even later.
Thank you. Okay.
With our student board member, Ms. Middleton.
Hi, I'm Casimir Middleton. I visited the state capitol with Miss Carla and Dr. Marsden and two other student board members, and it was actually a really good trip because the 3 student board members that were there were all gonna be studying political science and majoring in that, and so it was just a good time to meet some of the senators and assembly members and talk about like what they do, and like they wanted to hear our story. We officially got 16 more days to graduation. And this Friday is my school's grad night at Six Flags. And I would like to say thank you again for everything, because this might be my last student board meeting, because on June 4th I have my scholarship award ceremony at school. So if I can make both, then I'll do, but if not, then I'll see you guys later. So that's all I would like to say. Thank you.
Hold on a second. I want to do a special request for Miss Cash. Can you read your poem to us?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
She did a poem about her experience going to school in San Bernardino.
Oh, nice.
Okay, let me go to it.
And she also, I want you to know, board and the rest of the student board members represented exceedingly well in every office they visited in Sacramento.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, this is my actually my poem for the scholarship ceremony on June 4th. Okay. The road to graduation was long and winding. There were times I felt like pulling over but kept driving. Like in 9th grade, there was a traffic jam. Felt like I was at a standstill. Making no progress, crawling along, I lost my will. Lost with no sense of direction is how I feel. Family yelling, Jesus, take the wheel, but it was my family who steered me away from the potholes. My family was my savior. They helped me find a detour and exit to that freeway of failure. But the city streets were under construction, filled with broken lights and incidents. So many of us struggle with drugs, weapons, fights. It's no coincidence. The streets through 10th grade was more of a dirt road. Other drivers engaging in road rage. Even some warm teachers were cold. I had to look inside myself to find me. Haters were lurking, doubting Thomas besides me. MapQuest wasn't working, no Thomas to guide me. Still, I persevered through the road rage and all. Full steam ahead to 11th grade in the fall. Problem is, I'm running late. Credits ain't up to date. I'm trying to get there within 4 years. Ooh, I can't wait. Made a pit stop at San Andreas, but now I'm back. At San G, had to gas up and fix a flat. Making better choices, switching lanes in the coupe. Just me, myself, and I rider in that carpool. Didn't have any money to pay the toll. Hit the fast track anyway, now I'm on cruise control. Doing about 75 with the top down, high school's disappearing in the rear view. Now I'm college bound. Thank you.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Way to go.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I'm hoping that there's a way we can publish that through either a newsletter or just having it posted on the website, just to give her credit for this amazing Because it's the story of our students.
But it
really
sounds
is.
so much better when she reads it.
Oh no, yes.
When
if
I
there's
read
a
it
way-
myself, I didn't have that cadence.
Unless we did like a video for her to come out.
There you
and-
go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you're right.
Even better.
Just to give her credit for that. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. After June,
Yes.
June 4th, I'd be more than happy to interview Ms. Middleton and do an article for the Sun newspaper.
That would be wonderful. Great.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
And publish your poem.
Thank you for your
definitely.
leadership, Casimir.
Okay, let's go ahead and go back to 6.1, and then we have our Dr. Mitchell finishing the LCAP portion or starting the LCAP portion.
Thank you, Ms. Medina. Board, I'm just going to briefly review. You've seen this PowerPoint before that describes our engagement process to get feedback from our community, our school community stakeholders that went into the development of this plan. I think Mr. Wyatt and other board members that spoke, and Mr. Gallo talked about the process that we took. So this just describes it. Tonight is just to share our LCAP plan, and I apologize, not Mr. Wyatt, but Dr. Wyatt. But I want to share the full plan with you tonight. So I'll be brief with these. Of course, this is our graphic representation of the relationship between our beliefs, mission, objectives, KPIs, and LCAP. Our principals use this as a model to show the relationship with their teachers and staff as well. As you know, with the LCAP, we've organized all the LCAP expenditures around 3 primary goals. One is to improve our academic achievement. Goal 2 centers around improving our safe and welcoming campuses, and goal 3 is around improving or involving and engaging our parents and community in our schools. This graphic organizer shows the iterative process that we use to develop the LCAP expenditures that we've gone through the outer and the inner circle 3 times this year, resulting in dozens of meetings and engagement to ensure that we're capturing the wants, desires, needs, and interests of our full school community, which is our parents, our school leaders, our certificated and classified staff members, and our students as well as you all at the community level with the board and our community partners. And so with all of that engagement, we found staff input around training and programs such as AVID, PBIS. There's a big need out there for cultural proficiency. We're happy to hear that around our teachers and staff members' desire to meet the needs of our kids coming from culturally different backgrounds than their own. There's a big push around student wellness and social emotional learning. We've made major investments in that. The staff seems to be appreciative of that and see the positive climates that it's creating on campuses and want to continue investing in those pieces. Teacher and student relationship building. We know that kids can't get to the business of learning without feeling safe and secure in the classroom and having caring adults wrap around them so that they feel safe to take risks in the classroom, learning risks, and to push themselves to their full potential. Intervention and differentiation will always be a need in our district. There are kids that may not learn in the traditional ways and will need alternative settings or smaller settings or different settings to learn. And so those are dollars allocated to that. Instructional strategies, we know teaching and learning is a science and an art, and it continues to evolve, particularly as we learn more about how the brain learns. So some of the brain-based research is really penetrating educational strategies, some of the neuroscience related to that. So what we're seeing is improvements in instructional strategy, how to teach more aligned to how human beings learn. And so that represents a significant learning curve for all of us. And so our teachers are participating in professional development training opportunities that are really based in neuroscience. And so we're happy to provide those opportunities. And then parent involvement, we know that our kids are just hugely more successful when informed, involved, and engaged parents. And so we have made significant investments around providing opportunities for parents to learn and grow together, as well as providing opportunities for parents to give us feedback, input, and involvement in our school campuses and at the district level. In terms of the community input, the themes that we saw was providing professional development. We're really pleased to to suggest that the community sees the value in highly trained, highly qualified staff working with their students. Our parents want the highest quality of staff around their kids, and they see professional development as an avenue to get there. There was a lot of requests around support staff, including counselors, PBIS counselors, rec aides, as you've seen before, and instructional aides, and so that we know that there are high quality instructional supports that we can put around our classrooms, in addition to investments in teachers, that our support staff in this district are being asked to do much more, given some of the challenges that our kids are coming with. And we're happy to be able to provide those supports. We're one of the few districts that have elementary counselors. We're one of the few districts that have the investments in PBIS counselors and behavior interventionists, and all the folks running around ensuring that our kids are coming to safe, welcoming learning environments. Number 3, we've made significant investments around parent training. They want more of that. We believe that our parents are really telling us that they want to learn about A to G, they want to learn about CCI, they want to learn about college and career, they want their kids to be involved in internships and externships, and they want hands-on experiences. They want to know how they can improve the support at home for their students so they can do well in school. We're seeing an environment, the parents are acknowledging a different work environment that their kids are faced with than when we grew up. Jobs are requiring much more skill set, much more people smartness among kids, and so parents are just interested in replicating and supporting the school environment at home, and so we're happy to do those things. Technology and instructional materials is without question. The kids are just learning differently. This smartphone has just revolutionized how we learn and the information that's at our hands. Saying that now laptops are like pencils. They're not an improvement to education. They're a necessity of education. And so our classrooms, we've made significant investments, including making sure that kids have access to internet and devices at home, thanks to Danny Tillman's push on the Google Chromebooks, where our kids are connecting to other classrooms across the world through all kinds of technologies. Our kids are now getting into virtual learning and 3D learning and all these kinds of things. And they're not, in the 80s and 90s, computers were a supplement to education, and now they're literally just a pencil. And so we're happy to make sure that our kids have the high-end technology for them to be able to participate and thrive in the 21st century global learning environment. And then lastly, the parents identified several programs that they saw as benefits to the instructional environment at our school. So investments in wellness and safety and nurturing the human spirit of our kids is important. AVID, we're happy to say that we have 39 of our 45 elementaries are AVID schools. All 45 will be in the fall, plus all of our secondary schools. I mean, to see a kindergartner walking around with an AVID notebook and chrono notes, it's just mind-blowing. To begin to hardwire a way of studying and a way of being and a way of taking notes in the classroom will carry over for decades with our students. Study skills they're not earned, they're learned, and we believe that AVID is a huge part of that. So one thing, Ms. Medina, around her big push around the AVID piece, and so we'll have 100% of our schools be full AVID by the fall. VAPA, as the dollars declined in the early 2000s, a lot of districts cut their music programs, their arts programs. We're also hearing from our teachers who are saying we need to also make investments in performing arts and those kinds of things. But the investments you'll see in the LCAP dollars with the instruments, the uniforms, the drum line, mariachi, just this huge focus on the arts, and it's just really developing a second language with our kids when they learn music, and so we're happy to continue that. Student leadership is something we've delved in the last 2 years with the Superintendent Student Advisory Committee and beginning to create more mechanisms to have student voice. We also include that student voice with our student board members, which has been new for us for the last couple of years, and so building student leadership. And it's funny, we just listened to kids last night at the Latino Task Force, and I tell you, I learned so much just listening to kids, much more than you can in any book or any pedagogy or any framework. That the genius is in our kids. They tell us, they're well able to tell us the answer to complex educational issues. They say it in plain language, and it should just be easy for us to do that. So we're making sure that we do more of that, as well as developing the leadership voice of our students is important, particularly kids who are marginalized. We have to nurture their voice to help them to interact in a global economy. They have to get proficient at speaking their voice, articulating their ideas, articulating their passions, and so student leadership is a good investment for us. Sports is, as always, the board collectively said that our kids need to be playing on state-of-the-art fields, having state-of-the-art equipment, having access to competition post-season. And so we made investments, and that will continue to do so. And enrichment, of course, that goes across the board between CAPS, after school, during school, the technology pieces that we're doing, the academic teams that we're supporting now. The enrichment is far, broad, and wide in terms of what we're doing with enrichment. And so you'll see that reflected in the plan. What I'm most proud of, or what our cabinet team is most proud of about the LCAP budget that you'll see before you, is that it truly has the fingerprint of our educational community. And so one of the things that you stressed 5-6 years ago when the LCAP came about was making sure that we stuck to the law, but we also honored the intent of LCAP, which was to meaningfully involve all educational stakeholders, and we believe that we did this. When Dr. Marsden came on board with our district and we were doing kind of a budget community committee, one of the things that he said was that we will know we've done a good job when everyone can see their fingerprint on the plan. And so, board, I'm happy.
Advice of our security team out there. Sounds like we're okay. The board's just taking a very brief recess to get themselves back together. We'll be here in just a moment.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and reconvene. Apparently the fire alarm went on, but we are safe to continue. We are not canceling the board meeting. So no.
Hey,
so we'll
David,
go
you
ahead
can
and
give me
have
that
Dr.
slide.
Mitchell.
And
Dr. Mitchell, please
the
continue.
last thing I wanted to mention, board, was the community wanted some increased focus on our lowest achieving and marginalized groups, and so you'll see increased investments with African American student learners, with close to 1.5 mil that we've allocated to support accelerating the performance of African American students, accelerating how we're meeting those needs. We also have launched our Latino task force as well, to make sure that we're digging deep in areas. And so I want to thank Gwen for her support, Dr. Flores for her support around pushing these initiatives. Our parents are clamoring for it. I think our principals are working hard to look for answers with that as well. And so we're focused on meeting those needs. And so, board, if I can turn your attention to the long budget sheet, and I'm not going to spend a long time on this. What I want to assure you is that all the things that this board has commissioned over the last couple of years, you'll see in this budget. It also includes all of the requests to accelerate performance by our principals, our directors, our folks doing the work to support our program specialists, and all the folks in the classrooms, out of the classrooms, around the classrooms, and that are supporting the work. And so you'll see every line item has some detail. And so one of the things I do want to bring your attention to is you'll see line number 4 is the anticipated cost for the 1 day that we've added for teachers with the SBTA contract that's being approved now. I say it's anticipated because it hasn't been approved just yet. I also want to bring you down to line 24, board, that we've added $500,000 to support the purchase of equipment and materials for our non-CTE pathways. Our CTE pathways are being well supported through various grants for CTE. But what our teachers pointed out is that we've failed to provide the materials and equipment for our academic pathways. I also want to bring to your attention line 56, Gwen, Ms. Rogers, if you can look at line 56, we've added $200,000 to support pilots in coding, and we have not selected, and that's in addition to the coding classes that we're doing through CAPS. If you go up to line 18, you'll see all the things that we supported in CAPS are being continued. Acoma, Scripps Movie Wizard, Broadway Bound, Garner Holt, Project Fighting Chance, 61 Golf are building. So when this, as I get approval on this plan, our assistant suits will then ask all these contracts to be put forward. So you'll see these contracts before June, because then this plan will get adopted in its entirety, and then that gives us license to say, give us everything so we can get that stuff. So what the good thing is that those folks, our consultants will be able to start in July, as opposed to August, September, November. So that will get the full maximum benefit from our partners working through the summer and gearing up and make sure the programs are ready to go when kids hit the ground. I also want to turn your attention, if you turn the page to line 80, Mr. Tillman, this is, I think, primarily your push around support for our academic school competition teams. And so you'll see approximately 12 to 14,000, it varies, per school. That's to support teacher, what do we call those? Stipends for Latino History B, African American History B, academic competition teams, speech, debate, anything that the schools are trying to, we've put $900,000 there. And that's a per site allocation. So there won't be let me have Dr. Volkmer speak to it. I apologize, Dr. Volkmer. I'm guessing here.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. We're meeting with the team on Friday, actually. Coaches from all across the district at every level, some site administrators, teachers, et cetera, that are going to be doing it. It won't necessarily be a per school. This first year, it won't be a per school allocation, because not all schools will be geared up to do it. So we're actually going to use a pool. We're going to recommend to them a pool approach. There are this many stipends available. If you happen to be a little bit farther along and you need a few more, you can get them this year. If you're not quite up to speed and you're just developing, then we can bring you on later. So I didn't want the board to get the wrong impression, Dr. Mitchell.
Who has now done a video with Del Taco advertising their food. So it just goes, let you know what happens when homeless people do get a break. And if I can get it, I'll get the link to you. But in addition to that, I just want to say thanks to the staff. And Dr. Marsden's right. Sometimes, we get in our cars and we go home and we take a lot for granted. And I try not to send Karen anything on the weekends because she's going to respond to it. But, your staff pretty much 24/7. And I just want to say to Cabinet, as well as other staff members, that we can pick up the phone and call you. And if we leave a message, you usually call right back. And just want to say how much you appreciate it. And because of you, we can go into these schools and talk to the staff members and students and the parents in the grocery stores to let them know that they've been heard. So I, again, want to just publicly say to Cabinet and staff members and to our teachers and support staff on campus, when the gentleman, the coach who was doing the work, teaching the kids the music and things from Ghana, what was unusual, two of the first people he thanked was the cafeteria worker and the custodian, and how they were so supportive in working with them, and we certainly don't give them enough thanks. So I just want to say to all of you, some nights are longer than others, and some nights are more miserable than others. but then there are some nights we leave with a smile on our faces. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Dr. Flores?
Yes, I want to thank Dr. Monatis for the update on the special ed information. That was really important so that we all know how much money we're spending yearly. And I didn't ask for all the years, but I appreciate it so that we will know the incremental amount that comes out of our general budget. And also, I guess Dr. Mitchell went in. I wanted to thank him for the update on the renaming of the EL department, and I think it's a good plan to give it back to the staff and to go and see what what they think that it should be, and consider all of the different functions that they do, and consider that as well. And I wanted to share with all of you. I went to the FLI graduation on Friday. Dr. Volkamer was there as well. Janie went. Did you go? And also Dr. Pettis. And so did Linda Bardier. And it was amazing. It was a tiny little room, but there's like 59 families and very diverse. A lot of African American families and Latino families. This one grandma got up and said, I've been mad at this quote friend from church for 2 years, and I don't even know why I'm mad anymore. But after one day with Consuelo, that night I went to Bible study, and I just said, I don't even know why I'm mad at you. I love you. Let's get over it, and let's be friends again. And that was just powerful, and everybody clapped and so forth. So 59 families graduated. They spent 4 days together. It was powerful. And then last night with the Latino task force, again, thank you, Dr. Mitchell, Anna Applegate as well, Dr. Brown and Dr. Marsden. It was powerful. You know how I always want student voices? Well, they had a fishbowl, and they had about 12, 15 students. And they went through a series of questions that I really appreciate the appreciative inquiry model because kids were asked specific questions, and whoever wanted to could speak. And this speaks to you, Madam President. There was this one Latino kid who said, I'm Latino, but oh no.
It's okay, we can stay put. I already got, no. Oh, not stay put? Yeah. I got word from Eric that it's okay that you're saying, oh, okay, so let's go ahead and exit. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Do we have to stop?
Let's exit. Let's exit.
Okay.
We're gonna step out for a moment.
But it isn't on anymore.
Is it?
Yeah, but let's follow the lead of our leader.
Oh, exit. Okay.
But I do look forward to hearing what Dr. Flores was mentioning regarding one of the Latino students that attended that Latino task force.
Should it go on again?
No, go ahead.
No, I was saying that, this one student, male student, said, I'm kind of bullied and because I'm Latino, but I don't speak Spanish. And so they tell me I'm not Latino, but I am. Mm-hmm. And so it was good to hear, the differing opinions. There was an autistic kid. I don't even know if anybody knew that he was autistic, but his passion is graphic arts. And he just excels in graphic arts. And so we had some middle school kids there too. So I think, and I asked Dr. Mitchell, we're going to replicate that as we did with the African American kids at all our schools so that we get student voice. And then we're going to use that data. How are we going to use that data, Dr. Mitchell?
You code it for emergent themes.
Okay.
And then we use it as we'll show snippets of the video to teachers as a professional development tool. We'll develop programs around what kids are saying and look at supports. We'll give the information to our teachers, our counselors, and the idea is using the data set to develop programs and services based upon what we've learned from their dialogue.
Right. I noticed that in the African American Task Force, there were directors and principals and counselors, but I didn't see too many last night. Is that come later?
No, we're doing full invites. I think what I'm asking principals to do, and only got half the response, was to identify 2 parents of non-EL students that they would accompany together. So we're picking up steam. We'll keep reinforcing it in our site leaders meetings. We'll keep
to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So absolutely.
All right.
And as the plan develops, you remember the directors are responsible for elements of the African American Improvement Plan.
Right.
They'll be responsible for elements of the Latino plan as well.
I was just thinking it'd be great for them to hear, the kids and
we're going to type it up and give it to all of everybody. It's
Right.
going to be a widely spread document.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Dr. White?
One more, I'm sorry. At CSBA, I would like us to apply our great jazz band at Richardson Prep, apply for CSBA conference in December to go and rock and roll them.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that would be
the
great.
Teen Music Workshop. I didn't know their name. Yes.
And then Scott, before you go, I know Dr. Hill had about 30 seconds she wanted to talk about that she missed.
And I certainly didn't want this to go without announcing. When we got ready to, before going to delegate assembly, they always give us homework, and they were asking questions of special ed, such as how many students in special ed, how much money you spend, and what can the lobbyists for CSBA do, and what have you. And of course, I looked at that at the last minute. It was Friday about 2:30, and I was leaving Saturday morning. And I sent that to Dr. Lundy and her assistant. And I just want you to know, 3 hours later, she had that information for me. Wow. So I just want to thank her for and join the 2 young ladies tonight to say that department is really doing great things, Dr. Menarez. And I just wanted to compliment her for just taking care of my request in such a short period of time on a Friday. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then Dr. Wyatt, thank you for being patient.
Thank you, Madam President. And, to go along with what Dr. Flores was saying about our Richardson Prep jazz band or rock band, I mean, it's a little combination of both. Some of us were able to attend the Young Visionaries Youth Leadership Academy Gala this past weekend, and they've been put together an LCAP. I imagine for a district this big, I can't imagine what the process is for that. It's like the Golden Gate Bridge. As soon as you finish it, you got to start it all over again. So I know with LCAP, that's how it works. And I mean, we just get to see a snapshot of what's done. So just huge compliments to them and their team for this. I'm really excited about some of our areas we're ramping up, visual performing arts, VAPA. I know Dr. Flores and others here have really been pushing hard for a mariachi program, and I don't know if most of us knew this. I know I didn't get to go because I had other obligations, but we had our kickoff interest evening on March 14th at Lancashire Elementary. So hopefully some folks were able to attend and see what the interest level was for that, because I think that's the beginning of this, and it's really exciting to see how it'll come to fruition in the next few years. I have no doubt it'll be an outstanding program. And again, just really appreciate the contribution for our academic competition teams. As Dr. Marsden mentioned earlier, just to see our mock trial team perform as well as they did, and to imagine to put more resources behind our programs and our academic decathlon teams. And I mean, there's so many teams, but just to continue to put San Francisco City Unified School District on the map as a district of excellence. And that kind of goes along to my next point that I want to discuss, and that was our subcommittee on looking at creating programs of excellence like Richardson, Rodriguez, Cesar Chavez. We met last week and discussed a few models, and one of the models was just utilizing what we have in place and creating greater capacity. And that could be done by just adjusting a few grade levels and moving them into another school that would be a feeder school, actually, into, say, Rodriguez Prep. And by doing that, we'd be able to create enough slots in Rodriguez, one of our other middle schools, that, I don't want to steal the thunder from them, because I know that we're really going to be excited about what we see there. And I just want to add that we want all of our schools to be schools of excellence. Every one of our schools. So that's a process that does take time, but don't think we're not looking at that for all of our schools and all of our middle schools as well. But, one at a time, and we'll slowly build to that. And then we're also looking at restructuring a couple other schools to do what we call our cluster cohort design, which is K-12, and we do have a couple schools that have been identified for that as well. So again, being able to create that cohort program from K to 12, and then when I know Mr. Gallo loves to talk about career pathways and that continuity of education starting around 3rd grade up to 12th grade, and that'll also give us that capacity to do at a couple more schools. So we'll be seeing those models in probably the next few years, if not sooner. And so that idea of programs and schools of excellence is underway. And I looked back, and that started February 2014. So I think the light at the end of the tunnel is now here, and we're going to see results of a lot of hard work and planning. So thank you to Dr. Volkemer and his team for doing that as well. So
All right,
that's my
great.
comments.
Thank you so much. And then Mr. Tillman.
Yeah, I want to start by thanking the schools. My daughter, Sierra Gilmore, graduated from Loyola Marymount University this past weekend, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the keynote speaker. And she went to Palm and Chavez and Cajon High School, and she got a $40,000 a year scholarship for her tuition, and she graduated in 4 years. And then she applied for the a program called a JET program. So she actually got accepted into the program where she'll be teaching Japanese in Japan. And she's been told that she's going to be in Nagasaki, Japan. So she goes there in mid-July. And at the graduation, I was sitting next to a parent, and she said that her son was attending, and she was paying $5,000 a month for his education there, and he had to take a summer school class to graduate, even though he walked. But the summer school class was $12,000. But because of the education that Sierra got here, she got the scholarship. So, and when she actually didn't apply until she went with the BFL program to Black College Expo. They gave her a free application, and she was accepted. So all those things that we do in the district are benefiting a whole lot of our students. And then I wanted to thank the staff. Everywhere I go in the community, because I've been on the board for so long, somebody sees me and say, "Hey, I got this problem. Can you help me?" And yesterday was a perfect example. I went to the post office, and I turned in this package, and I was sending it registered. So I had my name on there, so the lady said, "Thank you, Mr. Tillman." So I just assumed she had read my name on the package. And then she said, but Mr. Tillman, I want to ask you something. And she had an issue with, it was a grandmother whose daughter had a student in school, and she needed me to do something for her. And I only have 2 phone numbers by heart in the district, and that's Karen Cunningham and Carla Crosses. So I tell them all the same thing. You call 381-1245, either ask for Janie or Harold or Perry or Dr. Mitchell or Dr. Menars or Dr. Perez. That's how I get everything done. But so I want to thank you all for helping us as board members. I don't know if they know that trick yet, but that's my trick. And that's why I've been elected 6 times. See?
I'm taking note.
Tell you to take notes. But, you benefit so many people by allowing me to do that. And the array of issues are just unlimited for a district our size. But you all do such a great job, and I never say thank you. And the only thing that all the experts that Dr. Marsden and the previous superintendents, when they come in to talk to board members, the first thing they tell you is you're only a board member at the meeting. And when you're at the store, you're supposed to tell them, I'm not on duty now. I've never accepted that philosophy. As a board member, you're on duty 24/7, and you don't get to say, don't call me right now. That's just our job. That's our role. And it's just good knowing that when I have the issues, I know the right people to call for you all to take care of the issues that so many people have. So, I've been on the board for 24 years. And I never thanked you before. So I want to say thank you to all of you.
That's great. Wow. We have to record this so we can play it over and over.
And thank you to Dr. Martin, too. I didn't mention Dr. Martin. I call him, too. He gets the real tough ones.
I appreciate the compliment.
All right, thank you. What about board members? Thank you, board members, too. No? Yeah.
Well, that's one part of my secret. Sometimes I need that extra help and that support, so first of all, I get a lot of credit for the Chromebook, but it's all synergy. I remember when I had the idea at 3 in the morning, and I called Mike about 7 in the morning. Was it 7 or 6:30?
I think it was 6:30.
And I said, Mike, I got this great idea. We're going to get rid of the digital divide.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Then we got Sonny McPeak involved
That's
and everything,
right.
remember?
Yeah, all work together.
Yeah,
So
it was great.
Thank you.
All right, great. Mr. Gallo?
Yeah, and that's what I appreciate about this board is that, we all do kind of bring a whole lot of different perspectives, sometimes conflicting ones, but a lot of times aligned. And you'll notice that very few votes here go anything but 7-0, So, we do have an alignment. We do have an affinity for, doing what's right for kids. And that's the heart that I see, in leadership here as well as the board. And I'll let Dr. Marsden tell about a student of ours, but this is, as you know, I run a company, a nonprofit called Technical Employment Training, Inc. I'm the CEO and founder, and uncompensated, I might add. And it's a nonprofit. And this is the first year that we actually had students from an entire cohort through Indian Springs High School that graduated, and we ended up having 6 of those students come to TET and graduate from TET and then become gainfully employed. And, we're really proud of the work that's been done, the groundwork that's been laid in these career pathways so that these students can go on to post-secondary educational opportunities and either receive national certifications and credentials. We're trying to even push that down into the high school level so they can get some intermediate or really some maybe beginning certifications and credentials and then continue on into their any post-secondary education opportunities. But it was really neat to see some of these students that, were they all had certain challenges and how they've been able to overcome them through a reinvestment and an interest in school now because of these career pathways. And I'll let Dr. Marsden talk about that later. So,
Great, thank you. And then Ms. Rogers?
Thank you. So just a couple of things I want to say. One, I want to say advocacy, the things that we do, kind of echoing what we said earlier today. The advocacy and the work that we do as board members, I believe in, I think, as the scriptures say, charity starts at home, and you have to know how to do your own advocacy. And I just literally got back in from Atlanta, a 5-day journey that was, I'll probably end up writing a book about it to tell you the story, but I will say that I'm grateful from San Bernardino City Unified that my son, who you all know, who attended Morehouse College, had the opportunity, yes, that's where I was, and we ran into, a slight difficult issue. However, at the end of the day, he will be having his debt wiped as well. And when you're talking about $100,000 plus education, you will fight to the very end and let them know that you're from San Bernardino. Let's make this happen now. But I will say to all of our students graduating, capstones are real. And you got to make sure you cross every T and dot every I at the end of the day. But we were successful. And I say that for the advocacy, starting at home and spreading abroad, is that I'm always talking with students as though they were my very own. And I know I briefly talked to Kashmir, had a small little blip, and sometimes their issues, when we hear it one way, and it's, there's things that they just don't know. but that's what we're here to do. And so the district, I know, have quickly resolved that. But prior to that, our other issue was, I think last year, Dr. Hill and I had talked about students that we find out in passing about owing a book here or there and unable to graduate. And I know it's not on our top 10 because I didn't see it with our stickies back there again, but maybe a BC or something covered it. But whatever the case is, our parents need to know that and need to understand the magnitude. In addition to my issue with my son doing all that advocacy, it came down to another $5 book that wasn't even paid. And so we think about that in we have students actually here that wouldn't end up not graduating or walking or competing or being a part of the ceremony because of those things. And so it may sound small now, you know, to us because we've moved on and we have what we have, but these are the things that our parents need to know. This is part of our parent engagement, understanding. I know that there are other districts, I think, that cover caps and gowns. I've read that before, I don't know. But when we talk about looking at our budget, I certainly would hope that if that's something that we can do to alleviate, if it's going to help, you know, we definitely need to look at that because other people around us are doing it. And sometimes the students just don't know. The parents just don't know. They don't understand, you know, that they can rent. And I know the night that I spoke about that, someone said, oh yeah, we rent. I didn't know that. You know, I always thought you just pay for your cap and gown, probably because I had the ability to do so. But we can never be sure about those type of things. So advocacy is so important. So again, as I advocated for 5 long days, I'm advocating again for our students, for our parents to ensure what we think they know, they may not know, and you can hit a roadblock and you don't have a parent like me or, you know, a father that's willing to stand there and say, look, we're going to do what is right. We're going to stand on integrity and principles, and you're going to do the right thing regardless of what you may have thought. So let's just keep that in mind. And if that is not a rule or policy or we can adjust it, let's look at that. And I know Casimir's was resolved, but I don't know how many other students that we don't see that just don't get that and they get down to this, and that's a big deal. It's a big deal.
And last year we brought this up and they said that at all sites they'll give cap and gowns to students for free. And
just long as something is meant, yeah, something, and it's a returning, I guess it's a borrowing, but the book thing, I want to drive that. That's important because we hear it. This was the second year, and it's one book, and someone holds true to the rule of whatever, you can't graduate because of a book that needs to be paid. And I'm sure we take up a collection right now, we'd resolve it, but we don't need to do that. We just need to be able to do the right thing through the right policy.
You know, Madam Vice President, there's actually a bill, I believe, that's going through right now that will address that, where students will not be held or punished because they have a debt, and definitely a debt they can't pay in order to graduate. And I'll find that assembly bill for you, but I know we were talking about it last month in one of our CWA meetings, so.
I'm grateful for that. But what can we do here? Or what is in place here? Because it comes up every year. We just happen to hear about it.
We could create a board policy.
Board, you have our commitment that we'll look into it right away, and we'll make sure that we don't have anybody being blocked from graduation.
And then once it's done,
we can bring a policy to the board for your consideration.
Perfect. That sounds good, and I think we're in consensus with that. And then Dr. Flores, you wanted to say something really
I wanted to say if we don't have a board policy, perhaps we should, in the meantime, with the assembly bill, we could pass a board policy that says that, you know, we will not prevent students from walking and graduating because of a debt.
Okay.
Do I have consensus?
Right, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you to the board members. I spoke at an event May the 10th. I was invited to speak. It was called Inland Rising, which is Center for Social Innovation. It's through UC Riverside. And I was asked to speak on behalf of Inland Empowerment, which we're doing work through several nonprofits, about 60 organizations, 60 nonprofit organizations looking at civic engagement in different levels, at different levels. And I spoke about the importance of civic engagement with our local communities there. I mean, there were many elected officials. It was one of those meetings where I just didn't even expect it was going to be that grand of the individuals that were there. So I was honored in speaking on that. And then recently, of course, it was heartening, and I helped that first night, specifically that first night. There's many immigrants that are coming into our city that are being dropped off in the van and the buses through ICE. And I got to hear and help firsthand with my daughter Abigail, these students, these children, and these families, and the struggle that they came from Honduras, Guatemala, and the struggles that even when a student of 12 years old, no shoes whatsoever, rode on the bus and was trying to be the man because he was there to protect his mom, was just so grateful of where he was at that moment. And so I'm thinking for the district to look into for those students who end up staying in San Bernardino. Many of these children and their parents were headed to different directions. Some were going to New York, some to Texas, some other to Miami with family. These are individuals that have asylum. So I'm wondering for those individuals that are here in San Bernardino that have nowhere else to go. And like I mentioned earlier, these are children that then would become residents here in San Bernardino. What are the steps that we can do? What can we do to help provide enrollment and support and so forth for those individuals that can't leave and don't have nowhere else to go? So if we can, definitely, I know that when I was there, they needed backpacks. Students and children needed backpacks. So I'm trying to see who would help me with looking into that, so we can help support here in San Bernardino. This is actually right across, in the Greyhound, right across the board meeting. Yeah, right there, close by.
Be our
Yes.
pleasure to work with you, and that would be
Yes.
Dr. Perez will reach out.
All right, great. Thank you so
Walk
much.
you through that process.
Thank you so much. Okay, great. Oh yeah, there was 30 families. We had through ICIJ, Inland Coalition for Immigrant Justice, and many organizations were there to help. Like I said, I didn't even realize some of them the children didn't have shoes. And they came on the bus, they went on the bus traveling with no shoes. And so there was need of shoes, socks, something as simple as undergarments. And so these are needs that, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of them did leave, but there was still families that had nowhere else to go. And these were students that are in our area.
And there's an article in the Sun
Yes.
that was real comprehensive today, if you didn't read it.
Yes.
Read the article in the Sun.
Yes. So there's several nonprofits, but they're continually every day bringing in bus loads of, and the thing is that we found out through the nonprofits is that there were families that were dropped off 2 days and no one knew because they had nowhere else. They didn't know where they were going. They were just dropped off. So a lot of they were sleeping at the bus, at the Greyhound. And then, of course, people from Greyhound were wondering, what are we going to do? I mean, they're sleeping over. And that's when they started calling nonprofits. But they had been there for 2 days with no services, no food, and so forth. So no water and so forth. So, yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do on our end in terms of working with you and our Mexican consulate. They've been helpful in the past. So
And we also have a
reach out.
Guatemalan
Consulate,
consulate
yeah.
here as
You
well, so
bet.
we can try to connect with them.
We'll look into that.
Okay, great. And then, so we're going to go ahead and move to 9.6, comments by superintendent and staff members.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Board, several student recognitions that are important for you to take note of. Congratulations to the Cajon High School Physics Club for their third consecutive first place victory in the annual Inland Empire Solar Cup Challenge. The Solar Cup is an education program in which high school teams learn about water conservation, renewable energy by building and racing solar-powered boats, and these are 13 feet, I understand, during a 7-month period. As part of the program, the teams research and complete various technical reports and create a water-related public service announcement thanks to the coaches Ms. Litzenberger and Mr. Light, Mr. Hendrickson, and Principal Tina Bishop. Also, we want to congratulations to football star and Cohort High School graduate Jayden Daniels on winning the prestigious Ken Hubbs Award. A big congratulations also goes out to the San Gorgonio water polo and swimming standout who you met tonight, Ashley Alvarado, who nabbed the new Keith Hubbs Award, which goes to an athlete of high character. Daniels, after signing with Arizona State University in December, has already been attending classes at ASU and has a 3.2 first semester grade point average after compiling a 3.92 at Cohort. Receiving a bouquet of flowers from the Hubbs committee was Pacific High Athletic Director Carmel Brand, named the state's Athletic Director of the Year by the California State Athletics Director Association. Also want to recognize and congratulate the District Police Officer Eduardo Sanchez on being recognized as Officer of the Year by the San Bernardino Area Chamber of Commerce. And then board, as a follow-up to our last regular board meeting, I wanted to remind you about an opportunity with East Valley Water District and their interest in partnering with the district to bring a potential training opportunity to students interested in the water management industry, and I'm requesting to schedule this presentation on Tuesday, July 17. And then following that presentation, I will also be going to the water board and presenting to them on our interest in a partnership. And so with your permission, I'd like to request to schedule that opportunity for John Gray, the CEO, to present. Board, would that be fantastic? Thank you. And then a couple other points. Board, we had student competition highlights. I wanted to, in addition to hearing from our students tonight from Urbita who are going to DC, I want to highlight tonight's board agenda items 10.34, 10.42, and 10.43 in recognition of San Gorgonio High School students that recently competed in the Odyssey of the Mind World Finals in Lansing, Michigan. That's one. Cohort High School students that team for their upcoming competition at the National Speech and Debate Championship Tournament in Dallas, Texas. And our Marshall Elementary School students for their upcoming competition in the National Sea Perch Challenge in College Park, Maryland. You need to know the Sea Perch Challenge generally is not until you get to high school or college. These kids are doing it at the elementary level. And we have a good work occurring across the district, and our students are demonstrating that they can compete at the highest levels. I want to thank you to our board members for your vision, support, and leadership around student achievement. And then finally, as Mr. Gallo alluded to earlier, not only did we take our student board members, Casimir, Junelin, and Greg, I normally have an annual tour with our student board members, a lobby day up in Sacramento. Not only did they do a stellar job, you need to know they brought with them 3D virtual technology to be able to share with our legislators. So literally, we had Assembly Member doggone it, Reyes. She had it sitting in her office, taking a tour of the Indian Springs Manufacturing Lab and Bing Wong and some other places, and it was just neat to see them get engaged in that level of kind of work, and our staff just did an incredible job putting that together. And within 5 minutes, of course, the kids knew how to run all the technology. I did nothing. They did it all. It was fantastic. They just did a great job. And we ended our day at Old Town Sacramento with a fine dinner and a fine restaurant, really recognizing their leadership and their work over the past year. And then the next day, I was called last minute on a Tuesday morning. And so this is, I think, on a Thursday. We flew up Luis Bustamante, a student from this school, to tell his similar story that he shared with over 60 legislators, key leaders, workforce development partners when they toured some of our Pathways work. And Luis told this story here, and he said, look, I went through Generation Go, the paid internship program with Sorensen Engineering from the manufacturing pathway here, from TET and some training, and he was offered a job as a high school student with Sorensen Advanced Manufacturing. And he had to turn it down because he said, I want to go to college. And so, it was kind of interesting. I have to rewind a little bit. In his story, he said that that when he first started working, he's sweeping floors and doing other things. He said, but I can operate that equipment. They're like, really? It turns out he could operate it better than some of the adults in that facility. So they gave him a part-time job, and get this, he uses magnifying glasses to work on advanced manufacturing stuff. And so we got his story last minute before the Senate Subcommittee 4 on a budget line item where there's a $10 million ask from our workforce board to take Generation Go from 300 students and 27 employers to 3,000 students. when we believe we'll get the ask, because you're going to see Luis in just a moment. When we get that ask, that'll be an incredible opportunity, not just for our district and kids as the pilot, but the entire county of San Bernardino. This is a big deal. Generation Go is getting a lot of accolades, and so pay attention to Luis's testimony. First time ever, I understand, public speaking, and he made some comments here, so let's get him up there.
I'm here to support item 66. You have heard everybody talk about the program, and I am the result of what Generation Go brings to the table. I started off with the Valley College class in summer, 75 hours. It took me, that got me a workforce readiness certificate that teaches us the 21st century skills that we need to have for any job. Then after that second semester of senior year, I got placed in a job called Sorensen Engineering. It's a micro machining niche company, and they are placed in New Typo right nearby where I live. And through that company, I did 120 hours worth of on-the-job experience, and I did over 100 hours worth of quality control just through the internship. I also, through the program, I have a NIMS certification. It's a national recognized certificate that says that I am capable of safety and measurements, NIMS certifications. I also have Valley College credit that is going to help me get the leg up in the college that I choose to go to. After I finished my 120 hours, I got offered a job for tooling, and I got accepted for the job. I now work with a microscopic machine that works on microscopic tools, and it helps, and it's getting me manufacturing experience and the technical education that I need for the manufacturing education that I want to get. So I'm going to now go to Cal Poly Pomona to get a manufacturing engineering degree, and I'm the result of Generation Go, item 66.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations on all the steps that you're taking to move forward.
Thank you.
So right there tells the whole story. I mean, this young man, and he'd never been on a plane before. I have a video of him just laughing on takeoff because he's recording the whole thing. He's just excited. We ended up getting him a walk of the Capitol Upper Dome, which you never get anymore. So he was just ear-to-ear smiles the whole time, had a great opportunity. But more importantly, we believe this $10 million ask is getting serious attention, and we also have an ask that will be formalized soon for $100 million at the national level, which will really help us to solidify this countywide.
Good job. Is that it? Those are it. Just
Those are my comments.
Well, that's a lot. Thank you so much for all that you're doing, and the board members especially as well. Let's go ahead and move forward. We're going to 10 point. Let me make sure.
So moved.
Wait, hold on. Wait. Did I? It's consent items 10.0. Do I have a motion? I got a motion. I second. Any discussion? Any items to be pulled?
Can you pull 1028? I have to recuse myself.
Okay.
1035.
1035. Any others? Okay. Let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. Let's go ahead and go to 10.28. I know Dr. Flores has to recuse herself.
Okay, so we'll just give her a second
Yes.
to exit the room.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. Let's go to
And
10.30.
Just as a note for the public, the reason Dr. Flores recused herself is because
the
she is
10.
a member of the California Association of Bilingual Education Executive Board.
Yes, and the title, and I did not read the title,
That's
which is
okay.
ratification in business and in service meetings, educational services
10.28.
pertaining to attend the California Association for Bilingual Education Regional Conference. Let's go to 10.35.
And also similarly, Mr. Tillman's recused himself because he does sit on this board, is my understanding.
Okay, and this is on agreement with Center for Youth and Community Development, San Bernardino, California, to provide educational services and staff for the Connect to Summer program at district schools. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, and as my comment, I will mention what Mr. Tillman mentioned earlier regarding summer programs for the students. And this is so important. Many families are working and their children are alone, and we need to find, and that's when children tend to get in trouble, things that they shouldn't be doing, because and it's no fault to the parents, because they are working full time. It's hard. And so I think these are programs like these that provide summer opportunities for them to still be active and in fun and educational ways is critical for our community. So with that, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Let's go to 11.0, which is the action items. Personnel 11.1, personnel report number 20, dated May 21st, 2019. Dr. Wiseman?
As presented.
Okay.
I'll move to approve.
Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. Be resolved that the Board of Education, that the personnel report number 20, dated May 21st, 2019 is approved as presented. 11.2, board ongoing initiatives reports.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. 11.3, board top 10.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. 11.4, board follow-up.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. 11.5, future agenda items.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carried. 12.0, summary of board requests. Dr. Volkamer?
Thank you, Madam President. Board, these are the follow-ups that I have from this evening's board meeting. First of all, provide a list of schools and programs that still have waiting lists. Number two, provide information about the number of dollars that were recovered as part of our attendance recovery efforts. Number three, provide an update on the frequency of GATE testing and any program reductions that may have occurred within the GATE program as listed with our LCAP information. Okay. Number four, explore English Learner and gifted program, as well as Twice Exceptional, and
right.
what the opportunities are for students that fall into multiple categories. Number five is nominate the Richardson Band and I think Soul Point and Teen Music Workshop for CSBA, to perform at CSBA, which would be wonderful. Number six, be sure to communicate with parents adequately to clarify issues around books, et cetera, and explore whether we have a policy, and then if not, bring a policy back to the board. Number seven, explore services for newly immigrant families that have come recently to the city of San Bernardino. And then last but not least, be sure to capture for all perpetuity and in memoriam to make sure that we all recognize that Mr. Tillman actually complimented the cabinet. And so we want to make sure that we take that video.
Take that note, yes.
Put it in the
play it before every
history
school board
annals.
meeting. Right. All right. Thank you. We will be reporting out. We're going to go ahead and close out. I mean, we're going to go to closed session, but we will be reporting out. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Yes, we will be. We'll be reporting out. Yes. All right. See you in a few. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We are back from closed session, and we're going to go ahead and report out. The gavel. So be resolved that the Board of Education approves the settlement agreement C1-18-19-17 in the amount of $14,500.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any comments? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. Be resolved that the Board of Education approves the settlement agreement CI-18-19-16 in the amount of $1,500.
So moved.
$1,500. Is there any a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, motion carried. We will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Next board meeting will be Tuesday, June the 4th, 5:30 here at Indian Springs. See you then. Good night, everyone.